Hello, I'm Russell Howard, and this is Wonderbox. A Wonderbox is a place where you keep the things that remind you of the stuff you adore. So I thought it would be cool to do a podcast where I ask some people what they put in their Wonderbox and have a chat about the most amazing moments of their lives. Joining me this week is one of the biggest selling comedians in the world. He's best known for hosting some of Britain's most loved panel shows, and his current live tour, Terribly Funny, has already sold over 1 million tickets around the globe. This is Jimmy Carr's Wonderbox. Here we are with Jimmy Carr.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I need no introduction, but that's just my ego talking.
Well, we could do your old gag.
What?
Jimmy Carr.
Jimmy Carr.
I just love that joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke. And my name sounds like my name in a Jamaican accent. That is the beginning and the end of that joke.
I think that was the first joke I saw you tell.
Really?
In 98 at the So You Think Funny. 99, no less.
99, yeah, in Edinburgh we met, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, very fun. Very fun time. I kind of feel like we've come in at exactly the right time. I kind of feel like comedy's going through something very special at the moment.
Yeah.
Like the last 20 years, it's become something that, like, in the way that music had its moment and movies really in the 70s.
Yeah.
And then the industry got involved and, you know, movies became studio movies and then independents were a different thing and music became a bit more commercialized. I mean, there's amazing stuff from the 80s and 90s. Of course there is. But the 70s really was kind of a creative space where it's undeniably just great. And it feels like we're sort of the heirs apparent, like the guys that came, the George Carlins and the Billy Connollys and the Richard Pryors. It feels like they were John the Baptist. It feels like they sort of laid this framework for, oh, there's a new language and you can think like this.
Yeah.
I love the idea that it's a different way of thinking. It's a medium. What's it about? It's about finding your voice. Well, that's important for everyone. Yeah. And it's about finding a way to communicate what's odd about life.
Yes.
And
isn't
that the whole thing?
But that's the majesty of stand-up, that laughter is a confirmation that you're not insane. When you tell a joke and you've made an observation about the world and you say it in front of strangers and they laugh, it's that lovely way of going, I knew I wasn't mad.
Yeah. And it's the seeds of freedom, because it's,
oh, that's a great title for you. It's Jimmy Carr's The Seeds of Freedom.
But it's that, yeah. It'd be a great book. It's the idea that you go. It's questioning.
Yeah, and but it's such, and the great thing about stand-up is really anyone can do it because it's.
Shh, for fuck's sake.
But you can. But
But
Jimmy, you just
couple
said
of chances.
You wanted
in
kids.
20 years' time,
in 20
Russell.
Years. Fair
I've
enough.
still got bills to pay.
I think you're all right.
But no, you know what I mean? That thing of, yeah, I absolutely agree. Like, the barriers to entry are nothing.
Yeah, and it's sort of that thing where it's just about, there's a brilliant book by who's the guy that produced the Jay-Z 99 Problems? Big Rick Rubin. It's a fantastic book about creativity.
Yeah, he's extraordinary.
And the sort of tenet of it is just follow your nose. Just be aware and try and listen to those little voices that sort of drop into your head. And now with like an iPhone or whatever, you can just have this little thought and you write in your phone and then you get back on your desk. That moment of sitting and trying to figure out the funny, I absolutely love that. In a way I never used to when I was a kid. I used to like writing on stage, whereas now, do you know what I mean? Trying to unravel your own madness. I love it.
I think that thing about, as well, the feedback loop is very pleasing with comedy, of like, it's making friends with failure, stand-up.
Right.
It's like, we fail. So I've written so many more jokes that don't work than anyone listening to this.
Yes.
So many more.
Oh, yeah.
Like, almost, I mean, it's comical how many jokes I've written that don't work at all. Just like a stony silence, nothing.
I've often thought it'd be really great to see comedians' partners have to do the hour that didn't work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because they've heard it. Well, my wife's heard it all, mate.
Who did that? Dice Clay did that. Dice Clay, when he was at the absolute height of his... Have you not heard this? Dice Clay, when he did
the day that laughter dies.
Yeah, he did like 5 nights at the Madison Square Gardens, and then on the way home he dropped into a club at like 12:30. There's 6 people in the crowd. And he does a set where he dies, and they put it out.
And isn't there a bit where he says something? He kind of goes, "Yeah, so I've got this orange juice," and doesn't the guy in the front row go, "Did it suck your cock?" Like he's just
withering,
properly stiffing.
Yeah, no, he's quite something.
Right, let's crack on. So, what's the first thing you're going to pop in your Wonderbox?
Oh yeah. What is it? 5 objects.
You could put at least 5. If you want to put more in, it's fine.
Oh, I'll put loads in then.
5 things that you adore into a box that you keep forever and that you could open up, you can tell your kids, your friends and your family, and these small things tell us about you.
First thing,
Yeah.
tennis scoreboard.
A tennis scoreboard.
The scoreboard. I think the scoring in tennis is one of the great... It's genius.
15, 30, 40.
Based on a clock originally.
Right.
Based on the French.
Okay.
So it was like 15, 30. I don't know what happened with the 45 versus 40. This is the French. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
And then ouf was egg for love. It's just a great system. The game's kind of never over until it's over.
Yeah.
It's just the best scoring system in sport. I can't understand. Like, I don't really get football.
Right.
You play for 90 minutes. Oh, right. Well, don't count up to 90. Count down. Some sense of entertainment here, people.
What are you talking about?
Why would they count up to... Why, if it's 90 minutes, why wouldn't you count down? That's insanity. That's bad...
Okay, but you can do that yourself. And you could watch the game and count down.
Well, in American sports, they count down and a buzzer goes off. That's exciting. And and the last minute, and then R1, they go 90 minutes, but we're going to play for a little bit longer. I think your sort of team sports or your individual sports.
Oh, I see, yeah.
I think you've got like a thing of, and maybe it's when you were a kid and what you grew up. Kind of like, I didn't really do much sports as a kid. I started tennis very late in life.
Yeah.
And I just loved it. I love that idea of kind of, because it is flow state, even if you're not good at sport, and I'm not very sporty, but that thing of like doing something once a week where you're in a flow state. We're very lucky our jobs are kind of flow state. So by flow state, I mean you kind of lose track of time. And that tends to be where you're happiest in life.
Yes.
Where you go, well, I know I played for an hour, but I wasn't really aware of it. I was just in the moment trying to think of that thing.
Yeah.
It's almost like your conscious mind is so busy that your subconscious can just kind of relax. And I think tennis for me kind of fulfills that in terms of it's joyful, and I don't really care about the score, but I love the scoring system.
Yeah.
And I love the game. I like watching it. I like playing it.
So, because I've often thought, like, when you try and do mindfulness and you're told to be in the now, it's very hard. Whereas, like you say, if you play sport, I mean, exactly the same with like football, that, as soon as you get the ball, you're not thinking about a joke you've got to do. You're not thinking about a TV show. You're not thinking about tours and shopping or your wife or whatever. You're just kind of right, he's there, I'll go there. And it's this lovely...
Well, that thing of like going, there's a definition of anxiety, that anxiety is your mind problem solving for the future.
Right.
And that we tend to be more anxious in this day and age because our immediate problems have been taken care of.
Right.
In large part. So, food and shelter in the Maslow hierarchy of needs.
Self-actualization.
So the idea that you go in that moment when you're busy with a ball and he's coming towards you and you've got to get past him or you've got to hit that forehand correctly and in the sweet spot of the racket and you're thinking about 3 things, you can't be thinking about the future. You're in that moment because you've got a problem right now.
So what is it? What's tennis? What was specifically the scoreboard? Does that just remind you of time just billowing past?
Yeah, it seems like time very well spent in that kind of flow state. And I love the idea of, I like watching it as well. I like watching, because you can watch kind of the greats. Yeah. And you can kind of go, well, it's a bit like, I think people talk about it with golf. Like you could have one good shot during the day, one backhand down the line that you just go, that was worth coming out for.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Are you a grunter?
Am I a grunter?
Yeah.
Yes, I am, yeah. But back to tennis.
But are you
no.
Double backhand?
The backhand, I mean, at the moment, a gracious... I mean, listen, if you haven't got great eyesight, lose the glasses, Federer. You'd think it was Federer.
Yeah.
From a distance.
But you're it's very odd picturing you. I can't imagine anyone. Like, I see you, and I see you in a suit. I remember seeing you in a pair of swimming shorts in Montreal, and it freaked me out. Because I'm just not...
What are you doing in my bedroom at 4 in the morning?
Exactly. I was like, this is not a swimming pool.
But, who are they?
But it was... You're just one of those guys, you don't anticipate seeing your nipples. And I'm not saying your nipples are peculiar, they're lovely, but I'm imagining you...
I could see that. I think it's
what do you wear for tennis? I imagine it's proper old school, Fred Perry, everything's neat.
No, just like, I mean, it's always tennis kits, always very matchy.
Yeah.
Very matchy. No, I kind of get that thing though, where you've got your perception of what someone is.
Yeah.
is locked in. Like as soon as the public has made a decision, or even your friends have made a decision about who you are and what you're about, it's like, you're not going to change their mind.
Yeah.
Because if you, beyond a certain age, that's why I think it's really healthy to kind of move schools when you're a kid, because you can sort of reinvent yourself fully. Or why do people go travelling? Because you get to decide who you are. If you go on your own, you get to decide who you are when you get there.
And that's the majesty of stand-up, really, is that nobody knows who you are until you go on stage, and then you can be whatever you want to be.
It's interesting, that thing as well. Most comics that I know, when they started, sort of didn't tell anyone, or didn't tell many people, just kind of went...
Why would you possibly risk it? Imagine inviting your mates to your first ever gig. Because, like you say, there's no way...
Maybe it's the other way around. Maybe anyone that did that never did a second gig.
Yeah, but because how can you possibly convince them that you're the comedian Jimmy Carr as opposed to us, Jimmy?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's sort
What's he doing?
Yeah, exactly. It's that. Whereas
I still think my mates from school all think, what?
Right.
Why would anyone
Yeah.
pay good money to see this? He never fucking shuts up. Why would you go and see him? It's a weird thing as well, because I'm not a big entourage guy. I really like time alone. I really like that thing of going, you're in the gig and you know, I tend not to, I don't have a support. I like to kind of, because that's kind of where I get the work done.
Right.
I get the work done on the road, on the way to the gig, on the way home from the gig. It's like totally peaceful. There's nothing else going on.
Yeah.
The modern world is so full of distractions. So that thing of like train rides and, driving back late at night, just, you've got time to think.
That's so interesting, because whenever I see you, you throw, notorious, fantastic big parties. I think of you as very much a people person. But that makes total sense, that you kind of then sort of compartmentalise your time. So you're like, right, party's there, gig there, this is me.
Yeah, I think it's all things in moderation, whatever you like. I mean, a big party's fun, but it's you can't be doing that the whole time.
What's the second thing?
Second thing. What have we got? Unsurprisingly, I think coffee machine. I love coffee. I've always liked coffee. I was sort of given coffee by my mother when I was about maybe 3, I guess.
Wow.
For my first coffee. She used to send us for an afternoon rest, but she would give me a nice milky coffee beforehand.
Right.
Because, crazy.
Yeah.
And then I've always liked it. I've always and I suppose what it represents to me, it's a paradox, because it's relaxation and sitting with friends and having a coffee and the ritual of that. And it's kind of liquid agency. It's right, we're getting something, we're up in the morning, we're doing something, let's have a coffee, let's go.
Right.
Great.
So you like the setting of it. So as soon as you have this sip, that's you feel like you're putting the right fuel in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, listen, in another world, it would be, I'll put cocaine in there, but it's like, I don't do anything. So it's like, the closest I get to cocaine is I'll have an espresso martini with tequila, not coffee.
Ooh.
I would strongly recommend.
Yeah.
Like one of those, like 7 in the evening, if you've had a long day and you're doing something social in the evening and you go, wow, I'm exhausted. I want to be in bed, really. One of those.
What are you calling that? Have you given it a name?
4 a.m. anxiety is the unofficial name. I'd like some anxiety about 4 a.m., please. I'd like to feel super relaxed for the next sort of 10 hours.
Yeah.
And then I would like all the anxiety to come crashing in.
Yeah.
What?
My brother had 8 of those once, espresso martinis.
Has he slept since?
No, in Dubai, and he had the temerity to blame his guts the next morning on a bad bit of sushi.
Yeah. The espresso martini, it's apparently invented at the Groucho in London. It was, I think it was, legend has it was Kate Moss that came in from the Red Eye from New York and said, I need something to wake me up and fuck me up. And the old bartender there, who's no longer with us, sadly, rustled up one of those. And that was kind of it's really an Irish coffee, I suppose, but it's like the reinvention of it and the coffee beans on top and the whole thing.
But that's a real window into the things you can say if you're magnetically attractive. If Dean Gaffney went into the Groucho and said, I need someone to wake me up and fuck me up, they'd kick him out.
Someone would have called his dealer.
But nobody's spending time.
Well, there's a theory on that, isn't there? There's a theory on how attractive, some people are so beautiful that they have genetic celebrity is the term. It's a really interesting sort of theory on there's a level of we only see the world through our eyes. We only have our experience of the world. So we sort of never know what it's like. So your supermodels never see what it's like.
Yes.
They don't know what it's like to lift something up into the overhead compartment. It's never happened.
Yeah, exactly. But it's just that thing. Imagine being able to go into a bar and say, I need someone to wake me up and fuck me up, and someone go, okay.
We'll think of something.
I'll find something. I'll invent an incredible cocktail. But if that's you or me, they'll just kind of go, there's a bit of coffee, there's a bit of Coke.
Well, I suppose it's that thing of it's...
Do you want me to shoot up your arsehole?
It's charisma, isn't it? And a great definition of charisma was you want to say yes before they've asked the question.
Right.
They just walk in the room and go, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wrote about this. I think it's a really interesting thing, like charm versus charisma.
Yeah.
So the example I gave was like Donald Trump, very charismatic. You come to me. Obama, very charming, head to the side, I come to you. I'll explain what the thing is. He's speech pattern, the whole thing. It's very charm. Angelina Jolie, very charismatic. Jennifer Aniston, very charming. It's like they're slightly different things, and knowing what you are, I think, is quite important.
So where do you stand?
100% charisma, zero charm. I'm not. There's a reason I'm not on ITV1 hosting something. I'm not. I've got no warmth. That's fine. It's okay. We're friends. You don't need to
No,
go. He's just said something true about himself that seems a bit harsh.
Oh no. But I would say you're warm. You've got empathy. No, but we've had lots of like very full-on chats. That's what's surprising about you.
Yeah, but it is surprising. So
yeah.
So the fact that I'm a nice guy is quite a well-kept secret. I think if you've seen my stage persona, you go, this guy's got the jokes, and that will do.
Yeah. True. But,
Great.
But that's what's so fascinating when you spend time. I remember when my dad met you in Australia. Do you remember that? And went,
Oh yeah,
he's lovely. But they were all like really worried because they thought you were just going to rock up and start rinsing people, and you were asking them about their day. And you could see they're all kind of like going, right, any second, here comes the twist. You know, it's
great.
I remember that years ago, Frankie doing a joke where he said on Mock the Week, he said his daughter had said, Daddy, what do you love the most in the world? And Frankie said, I love you. And he said, what do you love? And his daughter went, chips. And it did fine. And Frankie was going, why doesn't it work? And I was like, because the audience don't think you've finished.
Yes.
You maniac. They're worried, where's that chip going?
Where's that chip going? Is that kid still alive? Is she?
Yeah. But
it is that thing of like what people have booked. Like I kind of heard this thing recently, and I really liked it. The idea of what the world has ordered.
Right.
So for us, the world ordered a stand-up comedian. Mm-hmm. Anything else we do is a sideshow.
Yes.
Like presenting TV shows, great. Doing a podcast, great. Bit of acting here and there, bit of writing. All of the other stuff is fun as long as it doesn't get in the way of the thing that we do.
Absolutely.
Like I sort of think we're not really in show business. We're showbiz adjacent.
Yeah, and you have to be, because you have to sort of see that it's silly, and you have to be able to joke about. Like, there's a bizarre moment on the One Show yesterday. Like, you know, when you go on the One Show, it's that strange thing where it's like,
I think am I banned from the One Show? Maybe.
But it's like you're having to talk.
I'm the reason you have to sign that form saying I won't swear on the show. I think.
Is that right?
Yeah, or I'm responsible for everything I say.
But why do we
have me on?
But why do we have this thing where we have to talk in that way? Like Gabby Logan told this great story. There was she was doing karaoke in Texas. She was brilliant, really great. And we were all, that was very good, well done. And you're having that sort of odd, sort of jolly hockey stick story. And it's like you're meeting the in-laws for the first time. You know, like Lee Evans used to have that joke. How are you? Very well. Cup of tea? Yes, please. You know, it's this very weird. And then the camera stopped. And then Gabby Logan went, oh, Christ. When I did that for Stars in Their Eyes, I had to do 2 takes because after the first one, this lady came over and went, that were really great, that, Gabby. Really enjoyed it. We're going to have to do it again because your wig tilted slightly and you look like Myra Hindley. And it was so funny.
Yeah.
And that's how people talk.
Yeah.
But isn't it weird that in TV at the minute, there's this weird, we better not be ourselves.
Well, why are podcasts huge at the moment?
Exactly.
Because authenticity, I think, it's weird the way that our culture's gone, because we've gone no attention span. People write a lot about the no attention span.
Yeah.
Right. The idea, everyone's on TikTok now, the kids are looking at Instagram and they're, instant, you can't hold their attention. There's also podcasts that are 3.5 hours long, and Game of Thrones that's 60 hours long with like character arcs that Dostoevsky wouldn't be embarrassed about. Like it's kind of in both directions. It's very extreme the way things have gone. I think that thing about the authenticity, though, is that not why people want to come out and see stand-up?
Absolutely.
Because although everything I say on stage is a joke, comedians leak. There's kind of a truth to it. It feels very authentic.
Yeah, and there's just kind of fun in the air, and it's just, at its best, it's just a room where you could just lose yourself and just howl with laughter, and then you just bounce on with the rest of your day.
Yeah, well, it's. I mean, I suppose to stand up that thing of it's the perfect drug mix.
Yeah,
because it's the serotonin of happiness.
Yeah.
When you're laughing, but it's also the dopamine hit. The dopamine hit of not quite knowing. I know there's going to be a joke. Where's the joke? Where's it coming? Where's the punchline? What's the that thing of like, not to get in the weeds of stand up, but if you do 3 pullback reveals in a row. It's a lot of diminishing returns. You have to mix up the structure and types of jokes you're telling because people have to not quite expect where the punchline is.
I often think as well, it's like stand-up's so visual. Like you'll see something or you'll think something and you almost see the joke in a cartoon way and it just goes blip, blip, blip. And then the job is to take that visual, find the words that communicate the visual joke that we've seen instantly. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of, and then what's the perfect word? What's
You're directing the movie in their mind. Yeah. No, it's a very good way to look at it, I think.
What's the next thing?
The next thing
in your Wonderbox.
Suit.
A suit.
Perfect suit. A perfect suit. I mean, I love a suit. It's the perfect piece of clothing.
Right.
And it's kind of, and there's kind of a never-ending kind of quest for the perfect suit.
So you would say a suit is the perfect clothing. I always feel very kind of constricted in a suit. And I've got a nice one. I got one from who's that?
One.
Yeah. But see, I would say in terms of perfect clothing, shorts, a nice pair of like Adidas loose fitting
shorts.
That's perfect. Just whacking them on. You don't have to put a top on.
Yeah. No, I mean, okay. Well, I mean, agree to disagree. Let's not fall out over this. But no, I like I like the whole experience of going to see, getting it fitted, having it made, getting it done, and then putting it on specifically for work, but even for like taking my girl out, the idea, dressing up for that, and feeling okay, I'm doing something nice. Let's go. It's a weird thing where it's kind of gone from our culture. Liverpool's got a little bit of it left. Liverpool on a Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
On a Saturday, people dress up.
Yep.
And you go to the gig and you look out and you go, God, people look great. Everyone's dressed up.
Yeah.
And it's a way of kind of showing each other, how much you mean. It's another way of communicating kind of affection. I think you kind of show up, and I think that for me, showing up in a suit on stage, I want people to feel like, this guy's at work. This guy's working. He's working for us.
No, I
communicate something. It's like the non-verbal of it, of going, he's a professional.
He's putting effort.
Yeah. We can all relax.
But then if I wore a suit on stage, it just doesn't... I would look like a championship footballer or like an estate agent that's going to try and bang your wife.
Well, at some stage you have to stop dressing like a toddler, but I don't know when it is. I don't know. I mean, at some stage.
But again, to go back to authenticity, that's you. That's your authentic self. Yeah. Wearing a suit, it fits. You look great. Whereas I look like I'm pretending to be I'm pretending to be myself as a stand-up.
Isn't that interesting? Everyone's playing a status game. Everyone's like signalling to someone else.
Yes.
So you wear a suit, you're in that game. Okay, we'll go to this guy, get your suit made. It's very interesting that where do we find that? In our probably when we first met, I was a little bit older. I was like mid-20s.
Yeah.
But that thing of really sort of defining who we are.
Yes. Yeah, and it was like, I remember when I first started doing stand-up, I was 18. I used to have like kind of longer hair and like kind of curtains. And I remember thinking I should cut them. It should be shorter, because who wants to see some twat on stage with kind of curtains? Kind of right. But so I was thinking, right, I need to make myself look less young.
It's a visual medium. I mean, I don't want to mention any names, but I can think of a couple of stand-ups that are great, and they never looked good on stage.
Yeah. And
all they kind of needed was a stylist, I thought.
Right. That's interesting.
The thing of like the look being absolutely perfect. Well, sort of like Billy Connolly's a really good example of someone that just walks on stage, the beard and the hair and you go, yeah, of course.
But then of course, when Billy Connolly was younger, he used to wear like banana shoes and kind of like leggings and kind of a bit of a cape. So he had his kind of like...
What's interesting where he came from, where that thing of like, you go, how new is stand-up comedy? Compared to music has been played for hundreds of years. Mm-hmm. People come to see one guy on stage talk for 2 hours.
Yeah.
New.
Pretty
new.
When did that start?
Well, the comedian as headliner, there's never a first. There's never a first anything.
Right.
But I think in terms of going, when it became something that people were very interested in seeing in the masses, like huge numbers of people, it's pretty recent. It's like, and then it went up a gear with, Eddie Murphy doing the first kind of arena tour. And then kind of no one else did an arena tour for years. Steve Martin, then it was Eddie, then it was, and that was in the States. So we were just hearing about that.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Someone like Billy Connolly never played arenas, which is kind of mad, given that he's, the greatest. But it's sort of like he was doing the Albert Hall and he was playing like the Hammersmith Apollo, the Odeon, what it's called there. But it's so odd now that you get to think, God, there's comics that are kind of playing arenas.
What's interesting, but have you not noticed the last year in music, it has changed?
In what
music,
respect?
Post-pandemic, they've gone from arenas to stadiums.
Yes.
Everyone just leveled up. Maybe it's a post-COVID thing of like people wanting to go out and feel part of something, because we spend our lives on our screens You know, the reason I love kind of comedy shows is you laugh so much more live. You know, watching it back is never the same.
Yeah, I went up to the Edinburgh Festival recently. It was lovely being in a crowd again. Just that feeling of just sort of watching a comic and just feeling being in the audience is amazing. Because, like you say, if you just watch a special on telly, you kind of detach from it. You're kind of on your phone, whatever.
That's my theory is one of the other things I was going to put in the Wonderbox was the Christmas radio times.
Oh, okay.
The telly at Christmas
Yeah.
is so special. And
Yeah.
why is it special? Same reason live comedy special. You watch it together.
Yes.
The rest of the year, TV's a solitary activity or sort of Gogglebox style with the other half on the sofa.
Yeah.
The whole family watches it.
What were those? Can you remember the things that you would watch as a family at Christmas?
Things like Blackadder would have been something that would have been, you know, kind of everyone would acknowledge was kind of brilliant.
Yeah.
And if you missed it, you missed it.
Yeah.
That was kind of special.
Yes, that kind of running home because it starts. Yeah.
I feel like that thing of it meant more because it was harder to get.
Yes.
And there's really something to that as well. One of the other things I would put in the Wonderbox is record stores.
Yeah.
You buy the record, you get it home, you got to turn it over every 22 minutes, or whatever it is.
Are you still a vinyl guy then?
I like vinyl. I like vinyl. I don't use it as much as I should.
Yeah.
You know, music has become like a scented candle.
Yeah.
It's a music. Oh, this is a great song. What is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
I had to say that the other day in my garden. It's great music on. I'm like, oh, what's this? It's great. Don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know. I have to look.
That's the thing. But we live in an era where music isn't valued because
It's free.
People don't pay. Well, that's the funny thing of like everyone's sort of like, oh, I really care about Lewis Capaldi's feelings. Well, not enough to buy his songs. You're forcing him to play live when he clearly struggles with that. So it's just bullshit. 79p for a song. Pay it, you fucking cheap shit. I hate Spotify. I'm an iTunes man all the way. I'll always buy it. I just can't.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I mean, for me, I'm ruined by the fact that, like,
But you can afford 79p for a song. You like the song. We should all pay for this. Like, it's so frustrating.
it is really interesting.
I've got a mate of mine that's had 1 billion hits of a song of his, and he's made like 10 grand from it. It's just kind of mind blowing where all the kind
numbers.
of money just goes.
Well, also it's that thing where books did the same thing.
Yeah.
So books went from there'd be maybe 300-400 novelists.
Yeah.
That did pretty well every year, you know, and they sold good numbers of books.
Yeah.
And we've got that down to 10.
Right,
and
yeah.
musicians now, we sell the same amount of records we sold in the 80s.
Yeah.
Same amount of money in the business, but now it's 10 people sell them.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, and eventually, presumably, it will end up all being Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
It'll just be, oh, do you like Taylor Swift? Do you like music? Yes, Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
It'll all be, and she's extraordinary. I'm not throwing any shade.
But she's going to have to do every genre.
She'll be fine. She's a very talented lady.
Yeah, but I mean everything.
It seems weird that there's no.
Y'all want to hear some grime?
Well, I think that's why the festival has become so big, because people want, you know, there's bands where you know the whole album because the algorithm is showing you the hits.
Yeah.
And it's giving you that fast, easy dopamine. You're not working for it.
Can you remember the first song that gave you that hit when you were a kid? Did you used to listen to the radio on a Sunday?
We used to go and buy records from the Slough Record Centre on the Farnham Road with
Yeah.
my mum on a Monday after school.
Right.
Because the records came out on the Monday.
Wow.
So we'd go and the guys in the store knew us, and we'd play records in the store, and that's good. And we'd buy like 5 or 6 records. Like I'd get one, my brother would get one, mum would get one. Like, but there's a lot of dancing around the house. So it was a big thing to kind of play music and pick what your thing was.
Yeah.
It was kind of the beginning of that thing where kind of a theme through this is identity. You know, it's not what you're like, it's what you like that defines you.
And what kind of a dancer were you?
Oh, horrific. I mean, unbelievable. You wouldn't be able to take your eyes off it.
Yeah.
And we all dance in a very similar way. Like my mum, it's hands up there.
I've seen you do
but
that.
Yeah. Like my mum's she had exactly the same dance.
That's so lovely.
So weird, right? I
Because
don't know
you've
what
got
that is.
You're almost like a very timid boxer. Or you're
A tiny T-Rex.
yeah, tiny, like
Tiny little T-Rex.
a knitting T-Rex.
Yeah.
You've kind of got that. Do you think that's why maybe that's something to do with the vinyl, that it sort of evokes your mum and it evokes that kind of, again, fun?
I think music, as well as the, it's non-verbal communication. What even is it? It's this thing in the ether. You're listening to
liquid emotion, isn't it?
and and it's so universal. Someone plays the B minor, and you sort of go, "Oh yeah, it's sad when people die, though, isn't it?"
Yeah.
What?
I remember.
How is that being?
Yeah.
It's insane.
Is it who's the guy that wrote Captain Corelli's? Is it Louis de Bernier? He said that massive book, and he goes, "Yeah, it's not music though, is it?" Do you know what I mean? It only works if you can read. Do you know what I mean? But you could just play the right tune, and it's like that Coldplay song, "Here Jerusalem bells are ringing," and like there's just 100,000 people kind of lost in that.
Yeah, it's kind of tribal. I really think they're a really good example of someone that's I don't know, consciously or unconsciously, but Coldplay seem to have had that thing where they go the chanty chorus, that feels like tribal, but
Haven't you written songs? Didn't you write a song with Robbie Williams?
Yeah, occasionally.
Okay, so I mean, that was a
have on
great
occasion.
answer, and then it became an incredible answer. Yeah, occasionally. What was your song?
I don't know. I think there's a couple. I don't think they were even on the album. I think like messing around. Just messing around.
How do you get into that world?
Well, that was just hanging out. We were just friends, and we were like hanging out at the house. Yeah. And go, we should do something. I'm going to be in the studio and sort of pitching lyrics because don't sing that, sing this.
It's funny.
Just being. I believe the term Danny Dyer used it very nicely. I met Danny. He was on our show, and he was there about half an hour before we went. Think about you, Jimmy. You're a busy cunt. I'm a busy cunt.
Yeah.
I think he's nailed me. It's like. I'm a joiner-inner. I'll always kind of go, I've got an idea. I like Danny Dyer, just briefly, Danny Dyer. What a great guy.
I've never met him.
He would be the Wahlberg boy if he was in America.
Right.
Working class, tough guy in movies.
Yeah.
I don't know what, there seems to be a weird class barrier here still. It's insane.
But it's because those films they're all...
I always think if it's not for you, it's not for you.
Yeah, I agree.
That thing of like that sometimes you want an absolute dumb, great, just popcorn movie, perfect flick. It's interesting. People are obsessed by their diets, but not their diets. Like people think about what they're eating, what they're putting in their bodies, but they don't really think about what they're listening to, what they're consuming, what they're reading in the same way. I was really kind of interested in that recently, of kind of going, well, you sort of get out what you put in, and the idea of go, well, what are you listening to? What's the kind of I really like, one of the other things I would put in the Wonderbox is, I would have called it a book on tape because of my age, but because I started listening to them when I was sort of starting as a comic. I was basically, a comic was when we started, it was a travelling salesman of jokes, because you were up and down the motorway. Like I was like...
And particularly you, because the Southwest, there was a promoter still around, Jeff Whiting. It was kind of like the first guy that...
First gig I ever did was 80 quid in Plymouth, which was,
the Club Fandango.
Yeah, great.
So Jeff was amazing, but kind of like yourself, Daniel Kitson, Danny Boy, Mickey Flanagan. There's loads of people that we could just get gigs with Jeff. They were just miles away.
Yeah, it was miles away. And it was always like, okay, well, that's on a Tuesday. Well, great, I can work every night then.
Yeah.
Which I still like to do. I like to work all the time. But that thing of like going, you were travelling, but listening to stuff and having... sort of quality, interesting things coming in. Like I'm sort of obsessed by great non-fiction.
Yes.
Like I'm fairly dyslexic. Like it's not debilitating, but it's like I can't really write particularly well, and I'm in really terrible spelling. Like to the point that spell check goes, I'm not even sure what you're shooting for there, mate.
Really?
Not even sure what you mean when you write it down. Yeah, I mean, I'm academically. I did very well.
Yeah.
I did all that.
Yeah.
But I'm really not great with... I had to kind of, conjure lots of coping mechanisms to get through. So I find reading slightly boring because I read slower than I think.
Right.
So it's easy for the mind to wander when you're reading something and you're not really consuming it at the speed that you want to.
I tell you, there's a really great non-fiction. Have you read Atomic Habits or listened to it?
Yeah.
That's a great book.
Yeah, I mean, it's superb. Superb.
I'd imagine it's right up your alley because you strike me as someone you're a relentless improver. That's what I would say about you, that you're always trying to sort of tinker with yourself.
I think that I don't know about that. It's very nice of you to say.
No, it's true though, isn't it?
I'm trying to be more stoic now. I'm trying to do less better. I'm trying just to be a stand-up and to get better at stand-up.
Right.
And just to go and to try new stuff at every gig and not to let myself off the hook.
Okay.
Because there is a thing where you can sort of stop writing for sort of 6 months or a year.
Yeah.
And just tour and go, well, I'm doing these dates. I've got this show. It works. Just knock it out.
Yeah.
And then there's this thing of like, I try and do new stuff.
Yeah.
Every single show.
Do you?
Try and do, at the end of every gig, get a bit of paper out and go, right, let's try these.
Okay.
And it's for me, it's not so much that moment on stage, it's what it made you do that day. It made you, okay, let's have a look.
Yeah. I tend to do all my new stuff at the top, and I'll sort of blend it into the place. You know, like we were in, like, I did Aberystwyth and the Isle of Man, and I was just going to spend a couple of days there and sort of like noticed a few things and sort of slung those in. You go, oh, there might be something in that. But I would never do it at the end because you've sort of built to this.
That's a slightly different thing. I do that much more outside of the UK. I do that if I'm in Vilnius. I'll write some Vilnius bits. And some I'm here and what's going on. But I won't do that particularly in Plymouth or Aberystwyth.
Yeah,
I'll just go.
It's weird, isn't it?
But I'll go, this is UK stuff. This is going to be fine.
Because I'm exactly the same. I've got like 20 minutes of like gold for Denmark. But I can't do it anywhere other than Denmark.
But I'm 11 cities deep in Denmark. I'm big in Denmark.
But it's great, isn't it? It's such.
I mean, those places are like, if you go, if you can be bothered to go, people will come out and see you. People want to come and see live comedy. But it's also that thing like language. It feels like the English language. Why don't we sling a dictionary in your Wonderbox? Because the English language, it's extraordinary and it's only getting bigger. Because it was like people used to speak pretty good English, and then YouTube came along and went, I tell you what, there's no more version original.
Yeah.
It's all version original. Because it used to be some countries dubbed.
Yeah.
France and Germany dubbed. So they had their Jerry Seinfeld doing the voiceover. They had their people, their Stallone.
Yeah.
That's all gone now. Because it comes out because people are watching clips on the Instagram and it's not dubbed. No one's paying for the dubbing. So it just, everyone's English goes up a gear.
But that's the great thing, isn't it? Is when you get to stop and think. And I think there's something about gigging in foreign countries. You're like mooching around like Vienna and you I don't know, for whatever reason, your powers of observation. I think everyone has this.
Of course.
You're just sort of drifting. You go, oh, that's quite weird. And then being able to go on stage and chat about it is the best.
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose that's again, it's a microcosm of what stand-up is.
Yeah.
It's noticing what's weird. Yeah. What's weird around here.
What's have you got like a little bit at the minute you're trying to get going that can't work?
Yeah, there's one bit it's a big thought.
Right.
That I'm trying to make work. I'm trying to land. Do you want to hear?
Yeah.
I'll give you just the crazy is a numbers game.
Right.
Something is crazy until enough people think it's true, and then it's not crazy anymore.
Right, gotcha.
And the example would be Donald Trump. That guy's clearly crazy. It's mental that he's running for president. He's a TV host, and then he wins, and he gets 51% of the vote, and people go, I guess we've got to take that seriously now.
Yeah.
We'll take that off our list of crazy things.
Yeah.
And kind of religion falls into the same thing, and I've got a few examples. And I kind of think it's sort of true. If enough people believe something, it goes from being crazy to going, oh, I guess there must be something to it. And in the world of kind of conspiracy theory, I'm kind of interested in that world and saying something about conspiracy theories.
Yes. Well, it's that thing, isn't it? It's like tyranny's the deliberate removal of nuance. And it feels like that's everything at the minute. Do you know what I mean? Where
yes, everyone feels like they're
it's like, it's all bullshit. It's all true. Well, some of it, it'd be so nice to see somebody on the news going, well, a bit of both. Yes. I saw the most ridiculous diametrically opposed interview it was on BBC Breakfast. They were talking about those e-scooters, right? And they had two people to talk, weigh up the pros and cons of these e-scooters. Right. One of them was a man that owned an e-scooter business, and the other was a blind lady. And
right.
You know when you just kind of go, what? Do you know what? They had different opinions.
Yeah.
But it was the most, when you kind of go, it was just
the story was never going to end, and they made out.
Yeah. But they had such a row about it. And you go, well, the point of this was the argument. It wasn't to kind of get anywhere. It was just like, let's have a little squabble.
No. Always my favourite question in the world is, what was the last thing you changed your mind about?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have an answer, and it seems like a very simple thing, what's the last thing you changed your mind about? Almost like an identity level belief that you went, I'm not sure.
What is the last thing you changed your mind about?
I think there's a couple of things. I mean, sort of politically, I think it's a really interesting time. It's like that thing of like left and right don't really seem to mean anything anymore. Mm-hmm. And I think being progressive is like it feels like there needs to be kind of a new party and a new movement.
Yes.
So like something that comes forward and you can really get behind and go, well, everyone wants progress.
Yeah.
Everyone wants the world to get better and for people to do better. And I'm a big fan of that, Steven Pinker and the idea of like enlightenment now and the world is better than it's ever been.
Yeah.
I love that. I love the positivity of it, and I love the idea. And I go, yeah, but we can still make improvements. Was the world a better place pre, TV going 24 hours? Because the news used to be on twice a day, maybe, on the radio, whatever. You could find it if you wanted it, but it was on in the evening and people would watch and go, right, that's the news, that's that done. Half an hour of things happened again today.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
Whereas now we have to have a blind lady and a man from scooter.com have a fight.
Yes, so it's a very odd... Yeah, it's an odd thing. I don't know. I don't think it does us that much good because you sort of, and you run out of compassion as well. You hear about these stories and it's the detail that breaks your heart.
Yeah.
But the numbers are just,
man.
You can't get your head around it.
Hello. This is the awkward moment in it where I flog tickets, but I'm doing a tour in America in October and then some more gigs in the UK in November. They're kind of mostly so. Anyway, if you want to go, and I'd love you to come, you can book tickets by going to russellhoward.com. Right, plug over. Let's have a chat again. What's the next thing? One last thing.
One last thing. Okay.
So, or have you got a few?
Well, I've got a few, but I'm just trying to think of what else would be a... we've touched on everything else, really, but maybe we should put in the Edinburgh Fringe programme. Okay. Because post-World War II, they set up a festival in Scotland called the Edinburgh Festival, unsurprisingly. And then a Fringe festival, which was like non-official, started on the side of it going, well, we'll put on our own shows at the side, and you don't have to be invited, you don't have to be any good, just put on a show.
And that's where we come in.
And that's when, good evening. And now there's like a free Fringe, which is an even more, it's that again. Yeah. It's unbelievably good. I wish I'd heard about it. I hope someone listening to this is hearing about it for the first time. Don't go to Spain next year, because why are you going to Spain? You want to have fun. If you want to have fun, go to Edinburgh. Yeah. That's where fun is made. Yeah. It's so great. And there's everything there. There's music, and there's circus, and there's comedy, and there's everything. There's food, and there's excitement and fun. And I think I wish I'd gone when I was in my teens and at university or whatever. I didn't discover it till I was in my mid-20s. We met there. Probably the first year that I was there. I met all my best friends in life, kind of in that, in the trenches of that. And like before being like we're both doing great. But before that, when we were just kind of in the trenches doing gigs, it was the most fun times. Yeah, man. And I think it's available to all. The barriers to entry are so low, but you kind of have to go there first. Go there and check it out and have a look. But when that program landed, and then you would go, right, I'll go and see that and that because I've heard of them. I've seen them on telly. Yeah. They're good. And then if they were good, you could they'd be sort of your gateway drug. Yeah. They would be your marijuana to get you to the venue, and then at the venue, someone will give you a flyer and go, do you want to come and see this? And you go, oh, yeah, man. I'll check that out. And sometimes it would be terrible. Yeah. And it was that wonderful thing of I don't know your experience early on, but my experience early on was sometimes you would see, I remember seeing Pub International, it was Al Murray, the pub
Harry
landlord,
Hill.
And Harry Hill was doing the show. Yeah. But Harry I only had 40 minutes to joke, so Al did the first 20 minutes. And as that character was invented for that, I saw it and just thought, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen. It's it's superb. I loved every minute of it. And then I went to see some stuff that was absolute dog shit. I mean, awful. And it made me kind of go, oh, maybe I could try this. Yeah, maybe I could be funny. I'd be funnier than them, not as funny as them.
It's the blend, isn't it? Of one of my kind of big moments, I remember seeing Daniel Kitson at the BBC. Remember the BBC late comedy show they used to do in the Dome? And he was sort of just riffing off of Adam Hills. And it was kind of like Kitson and his pomp. And we've all got those gigs. I remember seeing Phil Kay at the Just the Tonic, where they used to do the Big Value. Yeah. I saw him do a 3-hour show. There's probably about 14 people in. And it was just mesmerising. For you know what I mean? It's one of my favourite comedy gigs I've ever been to. And then I'd send mates of mine to go watch Phil. And then they go, nah, wasn't happening. Yeah, it just felt like those kind of misfits.
It is interesting. I kind of feel like it's the same thing as Anthony Bourdain always used to have this thing of going, don't just go there and go to where I went. Yeah. Have your own adventure. Yeah. And I think that's the thing with the Edinburgh Festival. It's no, go and have your own adventure. Go and do your thing. Because I'm kind of, the Edinburgh Festival for me now, I went back one night because we had to reschedule a thing. So I went back one night and did a gig. But I feel like it's not really for me anymore. I've been a little bit Am I too established for that? Yeah, it's for people to get established. But there is a bit of me that goes, maybe I'll be the gate, or maybe I'll do a couple of shows there next year and just go, well, I'll be the gateway drug because.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one though, because I think you're right, but I think if you do the normal rooms that you would do in Edinburgh, it's just a bit like, nah, you don't need to do that. I think if you did like a 200-seater and you were faffing about and just, I think that works. I think otherwise...
I'm never faffing about.
No, but that's what I mean. Otherwise, but because you're taking an audience away from your younger self. I think. That's
sure.
It's like when, certain comics have gone up there and done huge rooms. You think, come on, man, you can do that outside of this run.
But I don't know, though. I don't know whether it doesn't bring people into the city.
Yeah, that's true.
The argument is, I don't think comedy has ever been, I don't think the Edinburgh Comedy Festival, thinking about it now, is a zero-sum game. I think there's a great... I think it's one of the great misnomers in life. One of the great, like the idea of zero sum. Well, if you're playing 5 nights at the Palladium, I can't play 5 nights.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
If anything, if you play 5 nights, how many of those people go, God, John, we like going to comedy.
Yeah.
Should we go and see more comedy? I think like the Little Britain big tour, the arena tour, was a big boost for us.
Right.
Like our generation.
Yeah.
Well, like people that had never been out to see comedy went to see that.
Yeah.
So it opened it. It wasn't that like the people that came to see us in the theatres, but there was a whole other audience that came out to the arenas and went, I've never been to comedy before, isn't it good?
Yeah.
And then, so Lee Evans broke that down as well for lots of people.
Well,
lots of people, that was their first comedy gig.
Yeah, and still, the role of Lee Evans in sort of like, he would still be a lot of people's favourite because he was just this machine in the kind of 90s that was doing these huge, beloved tours. And I find it amazing that he's just not doing it. I like how he just was massive, did all the gigs and went, no, that's me done. And I know it was because of Addison.
It's a bit like Steve Martin. I mean, Steve Martin's book.
It's unbelievable, that,
Born
isn't
Standing
it?
Up, it's
the
the best.
It turns out one can have a fondness for the war years. That's what he said at the beginning. But he was doing stadiums with a small act, like 50,000, no screens, and kind of like dancing like an Egyptian. And, hey, do you want me to see balloon animals? Kind of mind-blowing. It wasn't like back of the room gear. Really small comedy. Really fascinating how it was. You've been doing arenas as well in like, Australia.
When demand, I think I might stick some arenas in at the end of the next one. I think they're really fun. I remember you saying to me years ago, "Oh, do it. It's an event. It really feels." And I do feel like at the end of a tour, when it's absolutely like tight as a drum, then that's the time to kind of go, and it's more of a like. People being in that big room, and like being in the audience in that big room as well, as long as you connect and people are laughing, then I think it can be really special. Yeah, and there's certain venues, like the Albert Hall, it's technically not an arena, but that feeling when you kind of walk in, Jesus, you really feel it as an audience member or as a performer. You're like, wow, it's so... Is there something about kind of being amongst friends as well? Like that thing when you go and see a band or whatever, and everyone there is like, we're all here because we love this.
I tell you what's really interesting as well is when they do the Yonder and they take the phones away. That, not from a, hey, don't record it content point of view, but it just...
People having the first conversation with their wife in 10 years.
But you're there. You've got no other option. So
Turns out she lost her job at Woolworths.
Yeah, exactly.
I had no idea.
but it's, and Woolworths is under and all. But it's that thing that you realise they're so focused, and you are so. Look, it's when we went to watch Chappelle. Do you remember that? And they kind of took our phones away. That was one of my favourite memories at Montreal. It was just before the kind of rebirth of Dave Chappelle, and me and Jim went at Montreal. And he has a DJ and he has a hype man. He gets everyone up, And everyone was fine. They were dancing, and you and me were like, I'm not sure about this. And we were trying to kind of dance, and then Dave came out and said, everyone, relax, sit down, take a seat. And you're like, we would have been fucking sat down, but your mate made us stand up. Really got me. Would you ever have a hype man? I'd fucking love you to have a hype man.
Yeah,
just a bloke with a violin. Get up, you cunt! And then you roll on.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom.
I did gigs with him in Australia recently. Back in January or Jan-Feb. Did a gig in arena in the Round.
Yes, beautiful.
I love playing in the Round because it's like you're playing a 2,000-seater.
Yeah.
Just as soon as you turn, it's like, okay. You see, it's like it works beautifully.
That's how I did it, because exactly that. For the last 3 arena tours I did, I always did it in the middle, because it made everything that maybe you had like a bank of 6 rather than 20 that way.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of a cool idea.
But then also having done, theatres for like the last sort of 6 months. I mean, doing like the Liverpool Empire for the first time.
I've never done that. Oh, it's amazing,
Mate,
isn't it?
oh my God.
It's the greatest.
But just to spend like a weekend in Liverpool doing a gig like that, versus the Echo, it was a hoot. Listen, we've got to go. But
We do have to go. I think we've covered everything.
We've
Yeah.
covered everything. But what's interesting about your box, clearly, it's full of. You're a real connoisseur of excellence. That's what it is. You like excellent things, and you like finding the best things, and you like trying to be the best.
I don't know. Is that the unifying? What did we put in? We put in a tennis scoreboard.
Yeah.
We put in a coffee machine, a perfect suit,
But it was about tennis. Was about flow state. It was about finding
a
calm.
record player. That thing. I mean, again, books on tape. Audible.
it's-
Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
You want the best ideas. You want the best sport. You want the best suit. You want the best coffee
The most fun.
and the most fun. That's what you're searching for.
Yeah.
Jimmy
Well,
Carr.
I'll let you know how I
Jimmy
get
Carr
along.
wants fun. That's the book.
Yeah.
It's a red Lamborghini. It's you led on it, blue shorts, and it just says something to wake you up and fuck you up.
Good luck. Yeah. It's going to sell like hotcakes.
So that was Jimmy. Jimmy will be touring his live show across the US between October and December 2023, and you can find out where he'll be and how to get tickets by going to jimmycarr.com. Thanks for listening. See you next week. Hello, I'm here with Jimmy Carr
Hello.
and producer Dan.
Hello.
So let's get cracking with your Wonderbox.